Hi, welcome back to the Positive Prepper. Today I'm going to give you 8 things that you should not do as a prepper. Now, normally I would turn this into a positive, 8 things that you should do. But I'm going to be pretty blunt and just be like, these are things that you should not do as preppers. But I want to preface this video with just a little bit, okay? So, as preppers, we are always trying to figure out from which direction the next SHTF is going to happen, okay? I do this not just for myself. I mean, I'm a prepper, right? So I'm always trying to figure out, what I should be figuring out and what's coming. But I also try to figure this out so that I can let you guys all know, but also so I can let my mag group know, okay? But with everything that's happening right now, from the jabs to the shortages, the crisis at the southern border, the control of information, things going on in Taiwan, the crime rates going up, people that are leaving their jobs. It's really, really difficult to sort all of that out and see sort of what the worst of these situations is. There's a lot going on. You guys are aware of that. If you pay attention, I'm hoping you're not watching the news 24/7 because that's bad. We don't need to get overwhelmed and worked up about it, but we do need to be prepared. And we need to do our research. And I try to do this on a healthy balance. Obviously, I have a family, I have a life, I have work, things that I have to take care of. So when you look at all of these things that are going on right now, there is a common denominator that sort of threads its way or weaves its way through everything that's happening, and that is control, okay? We are seeing an excessive rule of law in some areas, while we're seeing anarchy happening in other places, like in a lot of other places. So we see this tyrannical control that's clashing with this extreme lawlessness. So I think it was, it might have been Walgreens, one of those type of stores closed. I think it was 4 or 5 stores in San Francisco because people are just walking in, grabbing cartfuls of things and walking out without paying for it. And then in other areas you have, well, you can't go to this restaurant unless you can show your Vax card, right? So there's, at some point, these are going to clash, and they're going to clash hard. Our new normal, though, isn't the way that we're living now. And I just have to preface this part by saying I hate that phrase, and I shouldn't be using it. There is no new normal, right? I think I said that in another video. There's nothing normal about any of this. But what will be our new normal will be when that desperation from the middle and low class people comes to full fruition because of everything that's happening and how much they're losing compared to the trillions of dollars that the wealthy gained, especially in 2020, and I don't remember the exact amount. I think it was like $1.9 trillion or something. That's trillion with a TR. That's how much money they made, while the middle to low class people lost their jobs, lost their incomes, lost their livelihoods. Some of them are losing their homes now because of the evictions. And we all know that the corruption is prevalent on every single layer of the people who are in control. Okay? And so as resources become more scarce, the more geopolitical turmoil that goes on, you will be forced to choose between compliance or starvation. That very well could be. Is it a for sure thing? I have no idea. All I know is the common thread between everything that's going on right now. It's sort of like everything that's happened from the beginning of 2020 has been a Trojan horse to bring in all of these control factors, these excessive rules and mandates and things that we're living under. This is what has been termed turnkey totalitarianism. So we're not like in a full out totalitarianism, but we certainly see some signs of that. So, when you are being constantly monitored, what you do or say or where you go is regulated, right? Can't say certain things on certain media platforms. You can't go into certain restaurants. You can't go to certain concerts, sporting events, that type of thing. And with that, non-compliance eventually could have some very harsh consequences. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. Okay? And this is, I'm really putting this in a very basic verbiage right now because I have to be really careful what I say here. But this is going to get worse if we stay on this course. So while they're getting you to think about all the stuff that's going on, and some of these things I talked about already, the shortages, the jabs, the control of what you say on media platforms, the crime rate going up. If you look at that woven thread, it's all about that control. And so it's going to get worse if we stay on this path that we're on. And so you will need to prepare. And I hope that you are preparing already for living with the resources that you currently have and not relying on, going to your big box stores or whatever, even your small stores to get some of these things. There may come a point where you will have to live on what you have. But there are some mistakes that preppers make in the way that they sort of visualize things and they strategize and they plan. And so I've chosen the top 8 that I think, and that again, my opinion, I could be way wrong, but these are the 8 things that I think are not very good ideas as far as prepping. Okay. So number 1, and I have to say that I am probably guilty of this. Hang on, I dropped my Okay, I am guilty of this. So number one is getting rid, and I think I might have talked about this in another video, I can't remember, but I'm going to get in shape and I'm going to quit any addictions that I may or may not have after an SHTF. Okay. So let me give you an example of what that means. If you are a smoker and you smoke, okay, that affects your lungs. It makes it harder to breathe. If you're overweight, it makes it harder for you to do some of the physical things that need to be done for prepping. If you have some of these underlying health conditions because of drinking or drug use, or, and I'm not judging. I have my own things. I do. But you cannot believe that you are going to get rid of these things after an SHTF. You need, and I need, to start working on getting rid of some of these hindrances now. Okay? So, if you have underlying medical conditions that you can't fix, and if you are overweight because you have a thyroid disease, obviously these are things that you cannot fix. Okay, you know what your limitations are. So I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that you're not going to make it because you can't make these healthy lifestyle changes either now or after SHTF. What I'm saying is, if you can change your situation, if you have that ability, you can't wait until after SHTF. You're just not going to magically get in shape, right? Because you have to walk to go get resources, or you're going to have to go out and cut wood. You need to be in the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health to be able to deal with every aspect of survival at that point from day one. Okay? So don't wait. Number 2, you cannot rely on hunting, fishing, going out and stealing a farmer's livestock for all of your food. Okay? It's supplementally, yes, but you cannot think that you're just going to be able to hunt your way or fish your way through an SHTF and you're going to be okay. It's not going to happen, because there are going to be a million of you out there thinking that you can do that, and where does that leave the wildlife population for you to go get? So you can supplement the food that you should already be stacking to the rafters. Stack it again. I was able to get that in there. But don't rely on that as your only plan. Okay? You need to be stacking your food. You need to be getting those proteins and all of your vitamins and minerals that you need. You're not going to get all of that from venison and fish. Okay? So that's number 2. Number 3. The number 1 weapon that a lot of preppers talk about is the 22 long rifle. Okay? You can't rely solely on that one gun. But in addition to that, you cannot make your firearms your priority. There has to be a balance between your firearms, your food, your medical supplies. Okay? You're not going to be able to shoot your way out of an SHTF. And I've said this before, that you cannot, having weapons and having a lot of ammo doesn't necessarily feed your family. It doesn't keep them warm. It doesn't give them water. Okay, you need to have these other preps in place. You need to make sure that you have that balance of priorities. So stock up on the food. And yes, stock up on the boomsticks and the freedom seeds at the same time. But don't make that your priority. Okay? If you don't have an alternative heat source, for example, don't spend $500 on a boomstick when that $500 can go towards a solar generator. Okay, things like that. Okay, so that was number 3. So number 4, don't think that you can do all of this on your own. Okay, there's a lot of people that have different ideas about the lone wolf, and I think I talked about this in another video. Okay, but if you get in trouble or you get overpowered, or if you get injured, being a lone wolf puts you in a very vulnerable position. So if right now you are somebody that, you know, maybe it's just you and your wife and your kids, or you and your husband, and, you know, you really don't have anybody else out there, start looking for those mag groups. Start building those networks of people that you can trust, because you are going to need other people. We have a mag for us, but I still don't feel like we have enough people to do all the things that we need to do. So don't try to do that on your own. Don't be a lone wolf. Okay? Number 5. And I'm only going to have 7 of these, so I do apologize because I said 8. So number 5, you have to make sure that you have a resource that you can realistically, I'm trying to think of how to say this. So if you're going to rely on propane, for example, for heat, you have to make sure that you have propane that can keep the heat going. Okay, you know, I don't know what the prediction is for this winter as far as coldness and snow. I've seen, you know, the Farmer's Almanac, and I've seen several different predictions. Nobody really knows. But if you're relying on a gas generator, you've got to make sure that you have enough gas to make it through the winter, if that's your backup heat. If you're relying on a wood stove, you've got to make sure that you have the wood to heat in your wood stove, right? To burn in your wood stove. If you're relying on technology, do you have enough solar power generators or solar chargers, things like that, to keep your technology running? Okay, does that make sense? You want to make sure that your I don't know what you want to call it, your ratio or whatever is on point, so that whatever it is you're relying upon, you have the resources necessary to keep those going. Okay? And then number 6. A lot of groups rely on bringing in other people that have specific skill sets. Okay, for example, you know, people that can, you know, bring in the boomsticks and the freedom seeds and have the ability to defend. People that bring in doctors or nurses or whatever in case of a medical event. Okay, but you cannot rely upon other people's skill sets. You have to be able to rely on your own skill sets. So you're going to have to do the research necessary, even if it's basic first aid, basic CPR. Get comfortable shooting that boomstick. Know how to set up your perimeter defense in your kill zone. Know how to forage for food. Know how to hunt. Know how to fish. Know how to start a fire, right? All of these skill sets. You can't rely on everybody else. You have to build your own skill sets in a multitude of areas. Okay? And the last one, and for me personally, this is a big one. Don't rely on friends or family's locations as a bug out without talking to them first. So I know people that have, you know, they have this great idea about where they're going to go in case of an SHTF, but they've never gone and actually talked to that person about whether or not they would actually be welcome at that spot. Okay, you can't show up at your uncle's ranch thinking that he's just going to let you in and he's going to share all of his preps with you just because you're his niece or nephew or whatever. Okay? You need to have that dialogue. You need to have that coordination, cooperation, agreement, right? Because what you're doing with that, number one, is you are just assuming that someone else should be responsible for you. And number two, you're assuming that just because you are a close family or a friend, you know, close friend or whatever, that that person's going to just take you in and welcome you. These people, if they've been prepping for years, are not going to want to just turn over their resources to somebody that hasn't been willing to prep for themselves. So you want to make sure that if you have a place in mind, you actually talk to those people and get that agreement. What do they need from you? Okay? How can you be an asset to the group? Go through the interview process. Let the people that own the property or the bug out location or the building or whatever it is, let them interview you to see if you fit that group, fit that mag group, that you're an asset to it. What can you bring to the table? How trustworthy are you? You know, what is your background? And then whether or not you would be someone that they could count on, and someone that's going to put in their fair share, that you're actually going to bring in something to the group. You're not just going to rely on the group to support you. And some of these might seem really basic to a lot of you, but I needed to say these things because I'm getting to know some of the people that are watching these videos, and I am trying really hard to make sure that I cover all of the bases of concerns that people have brought up. So I hope this video helped. It's a little bit different than my last two videos, but they are things that you need to think about. You, especially that last one, and I think also especially about the boomsticks. Don't rely on just being armed, and don't rely on having that place or those people that you think you're going to be able to count on without actually having that dialogue. Okay, so hopefully this has helped you guys. Hope you guys have all had a great day. Please hit that like and subscribe and notification bell. And God bless always.